Our scene takes place after Jacob has stepped away from the Looking Glass Cabaret. He moves at an accelerated pace, his footsteps trailing along the night-cloaked sidewalk. Almost nobody was about, at least on this side, as many of the buildings were occupied in a less busy fashion. Sooner or later, one comes across the hotels, the occasional ritzy bar or club. Jacob extends his senses with his usual caution. After he's gone a while and is not surrounded by anybody, he lets Auspex heighten his senses and begins listening around for anyone or anybody nearby, picking up a few rats, a couple of cats chasing each other much further down the alleyway. But it's human or humanoid sources that he's wondering about.
And suddenly his senses pick up the odd distortion of shadowy footfalls coming through, celerity, a breeze of air as a rapid blur of motion rushes by. Someone's following behind him very carefully, very cautiously, and there's this eerie sort of presence, not an overtly supernatural one, but kind of a predatory vibe behind him.
Jacob will open his eyes, having taken note of the presence behind him, crosses his arms, resumes walking. The motion of crossing his arms allows him to reach one hand into a sheath that keeps at his wrist. One of his daggers is pulled out, and as his hand goes back into his coat pocket, he uses the trench coat to disguise the blade, sheathing it within the pocket where his hand rests as he continues his walk. His pace remains even and slow, but turns down a back alleyway towards a garage that he knows from experience allow him to cut across to nearby theaters.
The steps are closing in rapid succession. Kind of a tattooing beat almost, as if a demented drummer was just having had a drum set in a garage band. And you hear almost this echoing, derisory laughter, almost as if someone was having a little fun with ventriloquism. This kind of echo of just someone having a good little laugh, as if someone was closing in on prey.
Jacob jerks a bit from the laughter echoing around him. He will, hearing the steps continue to approach, head towards the garage, cut the next corner. After taking a few footfalls away from it, he'll stand there, again, listening. This time, with his alertness focused on trying to find out where the person is coming from.
Honestly, with that roll and my pretty normal stealth. I'm going to say that you can obviously pick it out. But just for the
Alright.
sake of being cinematic and rather awesome, this presence just sort of closes in, and you hear this whisper behind your ear. Who exactly are you?
Now, roll initiative.
Alright, this should be fun. Let's see here. What do you roll for initiative again?
Let me double check it. I believe it is just... Let me put it in my hands. I believe it's just 1d10 plus your dexterity. Whatever you roll for d10 plus your dexterity, and adding in celerity dots if you have it.
Okay, well, I have 2 of those, so, alright. Rolling my
My
d10.
die gives me a 1, and I have total 5 from the rest, so 6 total. That's my initiative.
Let's see how Dice Stream favors me, and we'll see how we go from there. 1d10. Let's see. Well, I have exactly the same, so we both reach into action at the exact same point.
Well then, Jacob is going to slash outwards towards the voice. He immediately moves to cut towards the individual, and I'm going to roll to see what his success is. And what was your character's action?
Basically, I'm going to try and burn celerity, basically dodging that maneuver, just, kind of matrix move. Like, I'm going to say for cinematic value, you basically graze across his cheek, you just kind of like, fades back into a Neo move, trying to dodge.
That's fine, since they both rolled the same initiative. I have nothing against that. Your character doesn't have vulnerability to silver, does he?
Oh, no.
Okay. Then it's just a normal blade to you.
Yep. All I'm going to say is that was rather interesting. He kind of wipes the blood away from his cheek. You're a little bit more interesting than most of the people I meet nowadays.
Do you sneak up behind most of the people you meet nowadays?
You have to forgive me. This season's been kind of dull, and I've had to hang back for a long while. So, rather than having my hunting skills get rusty, I had to have a little fun. Basically, for nature, he does have the thrill seeker thing going. So, yes, this is definitely who he is.
Oh, this is going to be interesting then. Jacob frowns over at him. I am rolling perception and empathy as he glowers at the individual and tries to read his aura. Alright, now we're talking.
Yeah. Well, basically, you can tell that he is genuinely elated. He is having the time of his life. He is actually rather enjoying and acclimatizing to this city. There's a vague aura of anticipation. He's just sort of enjoying the moment, really.
Is there anything unusual, diablerie, magic,
Oh, no.
something other than a vampire? Okay, cool.
He does look a lot more ruddy than the usual vampire via blush and health. He's particularly well fed, very striking in his appearance, very almost dashing and kind of, if he wasn't a gothic piece of shit, very heroic profile.
Now, quick question. Blonde hair, blue eyes?
Actually, dark hair, red streaks and blue streaks throughout. He does have the icy blue, preternaturally glowing eyes, but
Okay. So, it's almost opposites between the two of them. Jacob will take the blade wipe it on a nearby trash can's bag to remove what little bit was on his blade. Looking the stranger up and down, he holds it but doesn't lift it to a fighting position. Would you mind telling me what you're doing in the city and what causality would bring you to simply stalk one of us for fun?
Basically, I'm in the city because one of my protégés gave me a letter. He told me to help his sire. He gave me a reason to come into Boston. Believe me, this is not my type of town. But while I'm here, I decided to have fun and help out as much as I possibly could. After all, when you have a legend of your clan as friends, you don't want that person dying on suspicious means.
No, you don't. Did someone die of suspicious means, or are you just here to prevent the demise?
Prevention, aid, basically functioning in a servitor capacity towards this rather venerable elder. You see,
Which event?
there's this almost kind of mocking, sly grin on his face, like he's knows something that you clearly don't.
And Jacob just frowns over to him. And who might this venerable elder be?
Well, you'll have to pardon me, sir. Where I come from, we're not in the habit of revealing our natures to people so carelessly. But suffice it to say, he's probably well known around here. What clan do you hail from?
Where I come from, we answer that question before we ask it.
Fair enough, fair enough. The clan of philosophers and thugs. If you understand my meaning.
Jacob's right eye twitches. He understands your meaning. He takes the blade. He puts it away. You see him turn around from you. And there's a flash of motion, and the blade is just gone. He doesn't give you a chance to see where he sheathed it at when you turn back around.
Seems you're pretty quick too there, brother.
Yes, well, every rose has its thorns.
Well, it's nice to see one that can actually pull a fight. It was actually rather amusing.
Like being snuck up on, and you've been doing it for the past 10 minutes.
Apologies. I have to keep my skills sharp after all.
Yes. You should be glad I'm not a mage.
Very true. Oh, allow me to introduce myself. He gives this kind of sweeping, almost aristocratic bow. Devon Creed, codename Stradivarius.
Jacob is going to mimic his action perfectly. And I'm going to roll the dexterity performance just to be fair on that one.
Okay. I'll do the exact same thing because I actually do have rather good on both of those. So,
6 dice for this roll.
Well, given celerity, let's see.
Yeah.
8, so let's see. Let's see there how it goes. Once my dice actually appear. You actually show me up a little bit.
He doesn't hold it long enough to try to be impressive, But he goes through the motion, rises up with his hand there as if he were wearing a hat. Of course he isn't, before it drops down. Well then, Jacob Crowley. Pleasure to meet you.
Probably. Isn't that a rather unfortunate last name? He just kind of...
I'm still alive, aren't I?
Pardon me, given the fact that I grew up in the Depression era, we still had rumors of that fellow carting around with whatever little hocus pocus that he was trying to achieve.
No relation. No direct blood to that.
Do you mind giving me any information on the political action going on within this city?
I'm afraid I don't think that I should be just handing that out to you, since you've proven that you're one of us, but not that you belong in the city.
Alright. And just for the fun of it, here's what I'm going to do. Considering this is definitely Devin's nature, and he is somewhat of a thief, he is going to zoom in with celerity and try and sort of just get a closer look at you, given the fact that he has introspection and eidetic memory. He's basically, the camera is going to still frame, and he's just sort of zooming in, getting details, posture.
While you are burning blood in your impressive displays, Jacob is just going to look, notice, but seeing that while your actions are swift and aggressive, he doesn't see you coming at him per se. He stands still, more or less.
Alright. And basically, he just picks up basic information about your face. You know, you're scowling, you're kind of showing a big air of annoyance. Nothing, like, really breathtaking. I do apologize, but what's the point of immortality if you don't test it every once in a while?
It's alright. I've met far worse than a bored thug or two. And what's all this about?
At the mention of being called a thug, he almost actually seems visibly hurt, taken aback a little bit. Sir, that's almost wounding. I simply came to the aid of Mr. Eudocia when called by my primogen Thomas Whitman, who is a child of his. Basically, given the fact that he actually felt he might be in somewhat of a dangerous situation.
Jacob raises an eyebrow. I correct myself. Not a thug, but a... what is it? A revolutionary. I think that's what we call you now.
He just kind of grins. Fair enough to say.
A call, you say?
Letter, summons, whatever you wish to call it.
Fascinating.
Basically, from what I've heard from our illustrious elder, my clan isn't doing much in this city, and I'm going to have to whip these young pups into shape. Oh, such a shame. He almost seems honestly perturbed at the lack of inaction in the bourgeois ranks.
Well, in this place, things were quiet for a while and then quickly picked up. As of late, I'm not surprised, he might have asked. As for the political climate of the city, it's temperate. It's traversable. But there's a few messy things here and there.
And basically what I'm going to be doing now is rolling expression and charisma to try and sway your opinion a little bit, to say that I'm not basically just a thug while I'm role playing this out. Da-da-da-da-da-da. Good sir, I basically came as any good warrior would to a noble summons to defend one of our proven elders, and he is, after all, highly well noted in my clan, and it would be such a shame to lose such a repository of knowledge. Forgive my brash manners.
Oh, no, it's quite all right. I understand entirely, and in truth, I wouldn't argue the point. There are the creatures running around in the dark. They mostly add up to the gist of what our good Yosha would like to have exonerated from his city as soon as possible.
So, do you mind if I ask, who are the clans that are most active these days? I'm more than happy to burn off if I have to, but he's just going to be asking the question.
Yep.
So I'm going to have to argue.
No, it's fine. I'm going back to what, though?
Did you actually hear the question, or did your headphones fall out?
No, my headphone fell out. I missed the question.
Who are the clans that are most active these nights?
Ah, that's what you asked. He will tilt his head a bit. Say, oh, yours and the wild ones, I would say.
He's very aware of at least vaguely what the gang will are, and having a few tussles with them, he seems a little bit perturbed. Right, I can only assume there's been territory scuffles. They've been trying to assert dominance like the beast of the wild would.
Oh, actually, their primogen has kept them rather well behaved as of late. They've had their domain, and it's not expanded overly much in quite some time.
So,
you never know when that might change, but for the time being, all is normal on their front.
Yep. And you'll have to envision this in your head. He's actually showing both a conflicted facial expression of amusement and horror, because this is a town unlike any town he's been in. The gangrel are actually acting ordered, the Bruja are sitting on their asses, and he's basically going into shock. So I'm rolling self-control to kind of not reveal anything, see how well I do. Basically, he just barely conceals anything. You see this horrified look on his face.
Jacob watches the look pass over his face. What little bit is there, and gives him a moment to control himself. You're all right over there. I need a place to sit down.
He just kind of stumbles backward, kind of sitting Indian style, as if he was punch drunk. This is a very strange city that I find myself in. You'll have to forgive my utterly shocked reaction, but this is a very, very strange place. Mr. Crowley, was it? Hmm. What exactly is it that you do in this city? Do you mind if I ask? Hmm. Well, that's most unusual.